So cheat sheet is ready, so let's do this. So if you guys have seen my video from yesterday, you probably know that I sold my Mac Pro in yesterday's vlog. And if you follow me on Twitter, then you've probably seen that I made a quite interesting and also surprising discovery a little later that night. So today, also because the interest in the Mac Pro video was so high, I wanted to explain why I sold the Mac Pro, and also not just the negative aspects of the machine, but also talking about what I'll miss about the machine, because it has a few very nice features that you won't find like this on any other system. So first off, let's start off with the things that really bothered me about the Mac Pro and that were also the reason why I sold the machine. So first off, the hardware by April 2016 is incredibly outdated. The Mac Pro was last time updated late 2013 when it was presented in the redesign that looks like a trash can. So the processors and also the GPUs are now almost like 2.5 years old, and that's just insane if you're talking about computer hardware, no matter how well it is optimized. So that's definitely a big downfall of the Mac Pro. And it's just incredible to me that Apple just didn't do an update in such a long time, and it's just a real shame, and I wish that they would have done at least something, but they didn't. And in fact, at least in Germany or in Europe, they even raised the prices because of the currency conversion. So when I purchased the Mac Pro, it was retailing for 3,000 euros, the quad-core version, and now the same configuration, 2.5 years later, is retailing for 3,700 euros. And Apple is just absolutely insane and drunk. I mean, there's no explanation for this. Yes, the currency conversion has changed and the dollar is now stronger than it was 2.5 years ago. But to ask 3,700 euros for a machine that's 2.5 years old, even for Apple, is just absolutely insane, and I have no idea what's going on. Moving on to negative aspects is, of course, the limited upgradability on the inside. Now, Apple doesn't officially say it, but yes, you could theoretically upgrade even the processor, the GPUs, and also the flash storage. But even with the flash storage, if you buy, for example, flash storage from OWC, then you can get like a 960GB SSD, and that will retail for like $1,000. So it's incredibly just expensive to upgrade it. And SSDs have become so cheap, so you can just buy a USB 3 SSD that is slower, I know, but you can get like a 1TB SSD from OCZ for like, what is it? I believe 200 euros here in Germany. Like, I think it's the Trine 150, and it has speeds of like 500 megabits per second read and write, and that retails just for 200 euros here for 960 gigabytes. And for the OWC, I think I mixed it up, just internal replacement drive for the Mac Pro for the same capacity, you have to pay like 1,000 euros. That's just absolutely insane. And I personally didn't want to take apart my Mac Pro to upgrade the processor. So just in terms of easy upgrades, the Mac Pro basically doesn't offer you anything than RAM upgrades, or yeah, and that's basically it. And I don't know, I had 16 gigs of RAM and that was absolutely fine. But just upgrading the GPUs is just very tough, and also of course the processor, and that you just can't put in another 2.5-inch SSD is just a shame, and for me was a big drawback, because that's the main feature that I missed, that I just couldn't put in a bigger SSD that doesn't cost a fortune. Now, on top of that, of course, the price is a big con. I already mentioned it, that the machine is now even more expensive than when it was first launched, at least here in Europe, and just in terms of what specs you get for this price, this just absolutely, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, you can't even justify that by any means, and I'm not sure what Apple is thinking. I still believe that a lot of Apple products like the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, the iPhone, and even the MacBooks have quite a good value for the price because of the build quality and the performance. But the Mac Pro, while it has a nice design and also a very nice thermal design, just isn't living up to par anymore. And you can't ask $3,700 for the quad core, 3,700 euros for the quad core version. It's just insane. last but certainly not least, an aspect that absolutely shocked me yesterday, and that was the performance. So if you've seen my video 2 days ago where I talked about WrestleMania, my WrestleMania 32 review, that was a 16-minute long 4K video file straight from the Sony AX100 in, I think, an MP4 format. And I exported this video to 1080p on the Mac Pro, and I don't have a specific number, but I would guarantee that it took around half an hour to 45 minutes, because I was just here waiting impatiently because it was almost midnight and I wanted to get this video up, and it just took forever. So yesterday I actually just rendered this video from the Canon Vixia Mini, a 10-minute long 1080p file on my MacBook Pro, and I stopped the export time and it took 2 minutes. And I was like, what is going on? Why is this MacBook Pro so much faster than my Mac Pro? And I also said that on Twitter. Now, of course, there's a disclaimer because that was a 1080p file from the Vixia Mini. So today I took the same identical file that I had from the WrestleMania review from the camera, put it on the MacBook Pro and let it export to 1080p to the same settings, and it took 17 minutes. So it was almost twice as fast. And the MacBook Pro that I have right there is late 2014 2.0 GHz quad-core processor with the Iris Pro graphics. So there isn't even a dedicated GPU in there, and my Mac Pro had dual GPUs, D300s. So there's no way that I can really explain that. Maybe you guys have any idea, but it's just insane that my MacBook Pro from late 2014 just absolutely kills my Mac Pro in terms of export times. It's crazy. I mean, if I would have known this before, then I would have sold the Mac Pro a long time ago. But that was just the biggest surprise, and I'm still pretty shocked and also pissed off because it seems like Apple has just stopped optimizing Final Cut Pro for the Mac Pro, at least for the quad-core version with the D300s, because the performance just in comparison to the MacBook is just absolutely horrendous. So now we're getting to the points that I really like about the Mac Pro and that I will miss in a future machine. So first off, of course, the compact design. I had it here in these IKEA shelves and it was just a perfect fit. And no matter where you put it, it wasn't big at all. It was just great to put it somewhere where it's not in the way. I mean, in comparison, my Alienware Area 51 was such a huge thing, so heavy, and it took up so much space that was definitely a big advantage. But even more important than that is that despite the fact that it was so small, the cooling was incredible. I mean, no matter if I exported like a 2-hour 4K file, the Mac Pro was barely just hearable, audible. It was so silent, it was almost dead silent, and I've never seen this on any machine. Now I have the 5K iMac as a work machine at work, and when I export videos on that, it sounds like an airplane going off. And the Mac Pro you just can't hear. So I think that's quite a tough thing to have such a good cooling on such a small machine. And even with a lot of gaming PCs, especially the ones that are from bigger manufacturers like Asus, Acer and so on, they have pretty bad cooling. So I was looking actually into the Acer Predator G3 with the new case, and it only has one fan, and if it just doesn't spin at a high setting, then the components get incredibly hot. Or if it spins at a just high rotation rate, then the machine just gets incredibly loud. So cooling seems to be an issue that a lot of manufacturers don't seem to tackle as well as Apple. But what does the best cooling help you if the components are outdated and the machine is incredibly overpriced? Exactly nothing. Now the last big advantage of the Mac Pro that I'll certainly miss is the fact that I was able to hook up to 6 monitors using the Thunderbolt 2 ports. As you can see, I have 3 monitors behind me and also a TV on the side that you can't see, but you probably know from my setup. And therefore I usually had 4 monitors connected, and this is quite difficult, well, not for PCs. With the like GTX 980 you can hook up I think 4 displays as well, but just 6 displays on one machine is pretty nice, and I haven't really seen that before on other machines. You could probably go dual GPU on a just Windows machine to get the same result, but it was just one aspect that I really enjoyed, and also an aspect that kind of destroys the just iMac for me. I mean, the iMac has a great 5K Retina display, no doubt about it, and I could put it here in the middle and have two little monitors on the sides, but then I would take up all the Thunderbolt ports on the iMac, and I wouldn't be able to connect the TV. The only solution that I would have is to get an Apple TV and to use this then as a wireless display here on this TV, but I'm not sure. I'm not really that into having again a machine that I can't upgrade except for the RAM, because the iMac is even worse than the Mac Pro. You can't even get in there anymore because it's incredibly tough also to remove the display, and I don't want to deal and bother with this. And the iMac 5K gets incredibly expensive if you go SSDs or flash storage only. So I would never get an iMac with a regular hard drive or with a Fusion drive, because that's just the biggest bottleneck of these systems, and it will just get slow over time. So it has to be an entire flash storage inside, but then you're easily paying like 2,700 euros to like 3,000 euros, and for that, I don't know. I mean, the 5K display is nice, and if you're getting a 4K monitor, it's already like 600 or 700 euros. But still, I can't really justify picking up an iMac right now. But yeah, that just wraps up everything that I have to say about the Mac Pro. Again, I was incredibly surprised to see that the MacBook performs so much better. And again, if I would have known that sooner, I would have sold the Mac Pro a very long time ago. But unfortunately, I didn't. So I guess there'll be probably a lot of you guys now that will tell me, I told you so, that the Mac Pro sucks. I still don't think that it sucks, but for me it just wasn't the right machine anymore. And that's it. So I hope to see you guys again tomorrow. Have a good night. See you then.